Now today's project in the shop is I'm going to try to show how I restore bolts and some other small parts. On our donor bike we have a complete GS exhaust system. It has a lot of bolts that need to be refreshed, some parts that, small motorcycle parts that need refreshing. And I want to explain why it's a good idea to do this and how I do it. Certainly not the only way, but the way that works for me, and it's a very easy thing to do. It costs almost no money. And when you're done, you have something that's going to be a little more reliable. The torque settings are going to be more accurate. It's going to look better. It's going to last longer. And overall, that's going to be an upgrade to the appearance of the whole motorcycle. The little parts that came off the exhaust system, we took the exhaust system off, and I wanted to just, this is just something, if you look at the video of taking the exhaust off, try to keep these videos a reasonable length. These bolts are really corroded. Some were in so tight you couldn't imagine, and some, I'll bet they were hand tight and not a whole lot more. Some had lock washers, some had no lock washers. That's just poor mechanical, I don't know, skills or whatever. These things are corroded before I put them back in. Of course, they will be as fresh and clean as I can make them. And no matter what job I'm working on, two things I try to do. Keep it clean, and always, because it's the easiest thing in the world to just run the bolts on a wire wheel. It takes so little time, and the payback is gigantic. Number one, they look nicer, but here's a good example of something that if these bolts, if they're in too tight or not tight enough, it can be a real problem. When you have dirty bolts like this, here's what happens. The corrosion and rust on the threaded part, it gives you an uneven torque setting. So you're tightening this, but you're not tightening it because the grit that's in these threads is just making, just like going down a driveway with your foot hanging out the door of the car. So the little effort it's going to take to clean these up, number one, it should give me a more reliable torque setting, whether you do it by hand or with a torque wrench. It's so simple, it slips by a lot of people. And these bolts, one of the things is they do a mechanical job. They are really doing a lot of mechanical, physical work. So the fact that they're going into the engine, once you strip this, if you over tighten it or under tighten it and it gets loose, you get a vibration issue. If you get the wrong torque setting on any of these header bolts, especially on a GS, that exhaust system can just start doing the shimmy shake on you. So what I wanted to do is just show, starting with one of our corroded bolts, how quick it is to clean up a bolt. Okay, now no camera cuts, no tomfoolery with this. Now, what a difference. A minute a bolt, and instead of having, and the threads are wire brushed clean, I'm not going to get any of those uneven torque settings. And the appearance, I could even polish this up more if I wanted to, but it's a win-win situation. So I tried to show that in real time, how much time I spend, about a minute, minute and a half on each bolt. Boy, is it a lot more fun working with these parts than with these. Night and day difference. And the bike actually looks better, and my torque settings are better. these are the same, and if you're working on a GS, you know there's two different sizes to these. You can't switch them around, so there's long ones and short ones, so it's a good idea. When they're nice and clean, it's a lot easier to keep track of them. And it's just about the same time as doing a bolt. It'll definitely be a lot more fun putting a motorcycle back together with these parts. That's for sure. And you look at these parts and just say, well, what would be more fun if we were, we're gonna replace the exhaust system. Which would be more fun to work with? And what always gets me about cleaning up the parts, it only takes a few minutes. And to put it all back together and do all that work and have this as the bottom line, I don't know. Anyway, I know how I like to work. So today we're going to dig in, and it'll probably be an hour, hour and a half or so, and I'll have all of these parts cleaned up and on the clean table. Okay, that's one part of the job, one part of today's mission accomplished on those. Now, it's really a loaded question, but that to me is time well spent. And you do, the problem with all this, not a problem, but you do get to see the front of the bolts, the capped end. But just knowing that it's nice and clean, just working on a project just gets to be a little bit nicer. By the way, another great tip, a really great tip, and I've heard this from several people, including Luciano, never throw the old bolts away. You replace a part of your motorcycle and there's bolts on it, save the bolts. Now, I have tray after tray of bolts that I've taken out of different things, because every once in a while you need one of those bolts, and usually the bolts that are on a motorcycle are grade 8, or at least they're good quality bolts. Now, I have brand new CAD plated washers that I got from AutoZone, metric, and so there's no point even spending time cleaning these up. Now, the CAD plated, and again you can get this from AutoZone, they have these CAD plated bolts. They come grade 5, grade 8. Now these are the mounting bolts that you mount the back of the muffler to. So, but these, I'd rather have brand new ones that have the plating on them. Now, as long as I got a little time here at the end of the session, this is one of the next projects we're going to be working on Evil Twin. I may as well get all the bolts prepped up for that too. Well, this was a nice productive session. We got some of our hardware ready for some of the upcoming parts of the Evil Twin project. Every time I get something prepped up, I always feel good about it too. And one of the next big jobs we have is to get some of the rust off of the pipes. That'll be it for another day. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. Give you some thoughts about what you can do to get your bolts upgraded. By the way, a great source of bolts, grade 8, grade 5, stainless, whatever, is boltdepot.com. I've bought a lot of stuff from them. Very good service, very high quality. Now, we post a new video almost every day of our rides we go on, the hangouts, the meetups, the little shop projects we work on, like the one today. Cleaning up old parts for motorcycles, trying to do these restorations, and of course the big thing, doing them on a budget. And all of the stuff that I try to share is information I've learned from a lifetime of working on things, and basically self-taught backyard mechanic. No professional training, but the stuff has worked pretty good, and I guess you can figure it out yourself if you just go to my garage and check out the motorcycles. And thanks, guys, so much for watching.